We're recording too. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started here shortly. We're just waiting for some people to join. While you're waiting, if you want to locate the chat feature and let us know where you're calling from, that'd be great. But we'll get started here in a few minutes. We got Lexington, we got Memphis. Where else do we have? Texas. Oh, wow. Connecticut. We're so glad everybody's been able to join us. All right. All right. Are we all ready to get started? All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This evening, we're welcoming Dr. Shayna Stahl. The panelists tonight will be asking a series of questions. And if time permits at the end, we'll take a few questions in the chat box. So please locate the chat box if you haven't done so yet. But right now, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Cody Birdwell, Director of Bands for the School of Music. Cody?
Okay, of course I was muted, right? Well, thank you for the nice introduction, Katie, and welcome to everybody. My name is Cody Birdwell. I'm the Director of Bands here at the University of Kentucky. I've been the Director of Bands here since 2004, so I think if I do the math correctly, I am just entering into my 18th year in this position. Prior to that, I was at Texas Tech University and then taught in Utah, Illinois, Michigan, and back in Texas, which is where I'm pretty much originally from. But it's great to be here tonight, and I look forward to visiting with all of you. So before, I think at this point, it's going to be my great pleasure to introduce to you our panel and also introduce to you Dr. Shayna Stahl. Our panel brings to us three really wonderful people from quite a diverse background. So first of all, we have with us Janie McKenzie-Wells. Janie holds 2 degrees in political science and law from the university. She is the first woman elected as a 24th Circuit Family Court judge in Kentucky. She resides in Eastern Kentucky and is a strident and very enthusiastic member of the UK Alumni Band Association. So it's great to have Janie here. Janie, just wave to everybody. Fantastic. We have Mr. Greg Greenwood. He holds a degree in accounting from the University of Kentucky. Mr. Greenwood resides in Louisville, Kentucky, and just retired after a career of over 35 years in the business community. And when it comes time to ask your questions, please feel free to expand on that. And Greg, I can't recall, when was it that you were actually in the band here at UK?
1981 through 81 through 85.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it's great to have you here. And then we also have with us Josh Gillen, and Josh is a graduate student here at the University of Kentucky. He's entering his second year in the doctoral program working with the bands. Josh is from Alabama, holds 2 degrees from Auburn University, and he came to join us last fall and was part of the reason we were able to continue with the marching band through the transition of the, losing the director at the time and moving forward. So Josh is coming back for a second year here at UK. Wonderful young man. And he also has a great voice. Josh served as the voice of the Wildcat Marching Band when our regular announcer was not able to attend the games last fall. So Josh, please say hello to everybody. Are you there, Josh? Somewhere there, Josh.
Hello, everybody.
There you are. Okay, great. So those are our 3 panelists. And at this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Shayna Stahl. Dr. Stahl is our newly hired Director of Athletic Bands and Director of the Wildcat Marching Band here at the University of Kentucky. I'm going to let Shayna talk to you a little bit about her background and experience leading up to this position, but I can tell you that last year during the search process, we received applications from almost 100 people from across the country. It's probably one of the richest pools of applicants that I've ever encountered during any search whatsoever. And so we had amazing people apply for this job. And at the end of the search, we were able to find one person who stood out that really connected with us as a faculty, connected with our students, and has a wonderful track record of success and experience in the profession. So please welcome Dr. Shayna Stahl.
Thank you, everyone. And it's so amazing to see so many attendees here tonight. So it's a real honor to have everyone here. So I'll just start off by letting you know a little bit about myself. Originally, I'm actually from Long Island, New York. I born and raised there and started music in the 4th grade there. So I kind of grew up through the system there. I actually got my undergraduate degree in music education at Temple University, which is in Philadelphia. After I received that degree, I went back to Long Island and taught for about, I want to say it was 8 years in public school. I taught a year in middle school, and then I taught 7 years in the high school. While I was teaching at the high school, I decided that I wanted to also help out with the marching band at Stony Brook University. And I had been there since they first established the program, which started at about 14 members and grew to about 200 members in the time that I was there. Believe it or not, there was only 14 members sitting at that first band camp, which is a fun experience to be a part of. But New York State has this rule that when you are a teacher for your certification, you actually have only the first 5 years that you start teaching there, you have to actually go back and get your master's. So I decided to go to Stony Brook University while I was working there as an assistant director to actually complete my first master's in arts and liberal studies in music. And then I decided that I wanted to go back for a degree in music education and conducting, which is where I did it at the Hart School of Music in Connecticut. All while teaching full-time at the high school and also teaching part-time at Stony Brook University. So I was involved in a lot of different activities. But once I was there at Stony Brook, the band director actually retired after being there for about 7 years. We worked together. I was his assistant. He was the director of athletic bands there. He decided to retire, so I decided to apply for that position. So I was very fortunate enough to receive that position and served as the director of athletic bands for 3 years. While I was there, I decided, okay, now it's time that I need to go back for my doctorate. This is something that I've been really wanting to pursue and I really would love to do. And I was fortunate enough to land a graduate assistantship at the University of Washington, all the way in Seattle. So I went from one coast to the other and decided to do my doctorate there. where I was able to work with Brad McDavid and Tim Salzman, who were great mentors through this entire process, gave me a lot of opportunities with writing for halftime shows in the Pac-12 conference, and also writing a halftime show as well for the Rose Bowl when we went to the Rose Bowl as well. After finishing my doctorate there in Seattle, I was applying for positions right out of the program, and I received my first position at UNC Charlotte. And I was the director of athletic bands and the associate director of bands there, where I served as the overseeing the marching band as well as symphonic band. I taught courses in conducting as well as marching band techniques. And so after that, I decided to apply here at the University of Kentucky, and was very, very fortunate to receive the opportunity to be asked to move to Kentucky and to Lexington. It's just me and my husband with our 2 dogs. My husband and I met on Long Island, and he is very fortunate and lucky to have also been able to receive positions everywhere we move. I feel so bad dragging him around, but we were very lucky that he's had some good luck in getting positions. And right now he works as the chief photographer at LEX right now. So that's just a little bit about myself. The panel, should I go into a little bit about my goals and visions for the program? Do you think that'd be best? Or
yeah, Shayna, I think each panelist has a question for you, and I think that
sure.
that will come up. And so we'll lead that way now, but I'll follow up on what you just said. And Shayna has been here since July 1, correct? Mm-hmm. So just tell us, how's it going so far? How are you feeling about everything? And what seem to be the biggest challenges you're facing at this point in time that you're most excited about, most nervous about, whatever it might be? So,
it's been a whirlwind. Let's just put it that way, between moving and trying to settle in here. But honestly, I've had some really great support from Dr. Birdwell and Story, and from the alumni band, and from Josh, and all of the students that have been stopping by and stopping in just to say hello and to welcome me. It's been really welcoming and had a lot of support throughout the process. I think for this year, the most exciting thing is that it looks like, I don't want to jinx it too much, that we'll be returning to some sort of normalcy, hopefully. I think the challenging part right now is that a lot of the different areas on campus are still rolling out their plan of what it would look like for the fall, with some contingencies. So there are some kind of planning A, plan B, plan C when we come to planning early week and for the season. So we have to have kind of multiple scenarios ready to roll out depending on what the season will end up looking like. So that's probably the biggest challenge. But I think the most exciting part is just, seeing the energy and the smiling faces from the students, and, knowing that they're ready to come back and they're energized and ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Janie, I'm going to have you at this time say a few words and then provide a question to Dr. Stahl.
Thank you, Cody. Dr. Stahl, we're so happy to welcome you here. As Cody mentioned, I am an avid member of the alumni band and have been on the board for several years. And I asked the alumni band board and others in the alumni band for some potential questions for you. So those are the questions I'm going to ask you tonight. The first one is, as you may already know, it is very important to the alumni band that certain traditions are kept, and those traditions are very important. And we want to know, are you planning the traditional marching sequences, including the K, spelling out the cats, and of course, my old Kentucky home? And as just a little follow-up to that, are there any new traditions we should look to watch out for on the field this year? Because we can't wait to see you all on the field.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the best part is I really, really love the pregame show and the energy that it has behind it, and all the traditions with the music that comes with it. I think for this year, in terms of things to look out for that might be a little new traditions. I know Josh and I were just sitting in the office the other day trying to come up with maybe a new creative way of entering the field that might be a little different, but still maintaining that all of the K and all of the music in pregame as well. We're also looking to standardize some of the music that's in the stands in terms of what we play when, for what situations during the game. So that's what I've also been doing some work on recently as well.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and let the other panelists, and I'll follow up with a question or two if there's time at the end.
Okay, well, we'll proceed next to Greg Greenwood. And Greg, if you want to say anything about yourself, this will be great. And then follow with a question as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's great to be here. I see a lot of familiar names on the attendee list. So hello, former band friends out there and fellow alumni band members. So it's great to be here tonight. Dr. Stahl, just as listened to your story and your journey and your career so far, I think my first question would be about what interested you most about this position at the University of Kentucky. And I didn't hear anything about any knowledge of Kentucky before that. So do you know much about the state? And just again, what interests you in applying for this position?
Absolutely. So I guess there's a little bit of a funny story with that. When I was at Stony Brook, I was actually the first band director to take our band to an NCAA tournament, which just happened to be against Kentucky. So that was my first experience seeing the University of Kentucky band in action. And I think what was the most exciting part about it is that, Stony Brook, we were still a growing program at the time. And we were only, I want to say we were only in maybe our 8th or 9th year of being in existence in terms of what the band in general. And I think what was so exciting to watch is to watch the traditions and the way that the team, the band, the spirit squads all traveled and made it feel like, honestly, it was like a home court for them. And just being able to watch the energy and the sound and the excitement, that's what really drew me to the program, honestly. Just thinking back to that one instance and seeing them in person and experiencing it live, just, that was really the main part for me. And my first experience with the program.
Terrific. Thank you. Josh Gillen, your turn. Tell us a little bit about yourself and provide a question, please, for Dr. Stahl.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Josh Gillen. I am a doctoral student with the University of Kentucky Bands, working on my DMA in wind band conducting. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with Dr. Stahl and Dr. Birdwell this summer, and with Dr. Birdwell last year. And I'm so excited to be returning this year and looking forward to everything that we have in front of us. My first question tonight for Dr. Stahl is in a little bit in regards to building our national reputation and our recruitment processes. So obviously, the University of Kentucky Bands has a wonderful and storied history with a large number of very important alumni. And we can see from our student session tonight that we're very involved, and that's not a lot of bands can say that. My question is, Dr. Stahl, how do you plan to continue building a national reputation for the Kentucky Bands? And what are some of your strategies that you use to recruit students, not only from around the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but around the nation?
Thanks, Josh. So I'll start with the recruitment part first, because I feel like recruiting and retention in the program really builds a strong program, which will create that national prominence as well. So in terms of recruitment and retention, recruitment side of things, I have 2 ways that I do recruiting. I do a lot of behind the scenes, like in the office sort of recruiting, but then I like to be kind of the face of the program and be able to recruit face-to-face. So in terms of in the office, we'll do some things such as posters, mailings. I would love to continue to do the newsletter that I've seen. Working directly with admissions, I know that's something that Cody and I spoke about this summer, with trying to find a way to add to, if it's not on there already, which we didn't see, was a way for students to recognize what type of organizations they participated in high school. So that way we can gain that material and those contacts, so we can reach out to those students if they had any sort of music participation. So that way we can recruit them for the program and even the School of Music as well. I also have been doing a lot of emailing right now. There's going to be eventually we're going to do a kind of a phone chain if we need to get students involved. And then having a really strong social media presence and consistent presence is something that we're working on as well. I know Katie DeWitt has actually been working on that this summer and has been doing an excellent job with creating a lot more content and keeping folks interested in seeing what we're doing. In terms of the kind of face-to-face sort of recruitment, I plan to be in the schools, even if it's just to listen to the ensemble, maybe give some feedback or just to visit with the students, as long as that's permitted, you know, with the pandemic and everything as well. But also, you know, our face-to-face content is having those recruitment tables at either marching band festivals or having them at orientations and also at Admitted Students Day. You know, being actual visible and present is really important to that recruitment process. And then lastly, you know, just me being able to be out in the community, whether it's judging or guest conducting, just kind of being out there. Now, in terms of that's kind of the recruitment. Retention side of things is a little bit different in terms of that, because I really feel like retention comes from, are the students proud of the product that we're putting out on the field? Do they feel good about what they're doing in terms of the way they look and the way they sound? And that really retains the students as well. And then also the community environment that we will have in the ensemble. I'd like to work with the leadership team and really build it from there. So that way we're really establishing a culture of, you know, a student-centered environment that is, you know, based on acceptance and belonging and being welcome to the program. Now, in terms of building that to the national level, I truly believe that, you know, having a strong program that looks good and sounds good draws attention for sure. And then also making sure that we are being up to date with some of the repertoire that's out there in terms of maybe some of the artists that are coming about. I've worked with other colleagues of mine that have had a lot of success in social media presence with different shows that they have written, whether it's a drill formation that's got some attention, or also some sort of music that they're playing that draws the artist's attention. They're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a marching band play my song before, you know, so that kind of draws attention. But I think also participation in the local community as well as the greater community. So that could also be parades, and maybe down the line thinking about doing something like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and events like that.
Terrific. Great question. Wonderful answers. Thank you. Janie Wells, we'll go back to you because I think you had another question you were hoping to ask. So please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Cody. Dr. Stahl, another question that's come from the alumni band is, what sources of funding does the band receive, and what are your unmet needs? And if you would, talk a little bit about the scholarships that are available to the students and any plans you may have to update or change instruments, uniforms, gear, and things such as that. So maybe a three-part question, but just start with the types of funding, including your scholarships and any unmet needs, and then we'll talk about it. I think the unmet needs may come in some of those things I just mentioned.
You might have to refresh my memory on some of the parts of those.
I will do so. I will do so.
And I'm gonna, if Dr. Birdwell wants to jump in too, if anything, if I say anything out of line in terms of because I'm still learning a lot of the funding and where things are coming from. I know we have a source of funding that comes through the School of Music, and then also some support from the athletics department as well. Cody, is that correct? I just want to make sure I'm getting all my information correct.
Yeah, so, and she is new, and this is, it takes a while to figure all this out, but yeah, most of our budgetary funding, the funding for the program, comes through the university, that being the president, through the provost, through the college, School of Music, and then to the band program. It's kind of 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 of our normal funding comes from that sort of routing. The other third or so comes directly from athletics. And so those are our funding sources. And then beyond that, there's some development funds that Lisa Blackadar helps us with donations and things like that, as well as some various small scholarship funds and so on and so forth. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, Dr. Stahl, just to follow up a little bit, do you anticipate now, I know this is early in the season, that you will have some unmet need that there could be assistance with from the alumni? And do you anticipate a need for new uniforms, new instruments, just changes in gear, anything such as that? What do you anticipate?
Yeah, I think there will be a need come. I would say so. There's always a need, I think, for support and funding, especially with trying to make sure that we have the materials and facilities that we need. If we want to grow the program even more, the budget will probably have to do so as well in order to support and sustain the needs of the students. It would be amazing if we were able to supply every member of the program a scholarship, because it's, you know, I remember being a student and knowing how hard it was to balance being a student and also knowing that I needed to have some other source of funds to survive on campus. And I think, you know, if there are other scholarships, support that could be given to the students, it will really be able to allow the students to truly fully immerse themselves in the program and in the university and not have to go and seek other places of funding to help support them go to school. So I think that's probably one of the major things for the students. And also, I think as well in the future, I think also having some sort of funding to hopefully expand facilities for us as well would probably be the greatest thing for us. I know down the line, every year we try to assess our inventory of instruments. That is a constant thing. This year we were able to get some new tenor saxophones to provide to the students. Uniforms, typically programs will do it every 10 years. They'll get a new uniform. So I believe if and correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, I believe this is year 7 with the uniform. So we have probably in the next year or two, we'll be looking to redesign the uniform.
Thank you.
That's about right. Yep, that's correct. Okay, and Janie, hang on to any other questions you might have. Greg, would you have any follow-up question as well at this time?
Sure. Dr. Stahl, I'd be interested in your view of how you see the relationship with athletics. Maybe what your vision is for how to strengthen that relationship and combine that with your experience at your previous schools, even Stony Brook or Washington or UNC Charlotte, what the relationships with the bands were in those institutions with the athletics departments.
Absolutely. The connection with the athletics department is probably the most important thing when it comes to the game day experience and making sure the flow and the fans and everyone's having a great time. So I would love to continue having, and they've been really great with this so far, having open conversations with me by phone or by email to kind of keep the communication flowing and moving. I think that also having, in terms of athletics, not just marketing for game days, but also having an open conversation and communication with cheer and dance is also going to be really important to kind of creating content that really works together, whether that means, oh, we have a new song that we're going to be using for Stan's tunes. Let's send it over to cheer and dance. So that way they're prepared in advance and they don't have to try to make something up on the spot. So that's really important to me to overall really creating a cohesive game day experience. And I've been able to do that really well, especially at Stony Brook, because I was there for 10 years. And the person that I was on, what we call the headset for the games in terms of, communication, we were able to, he knew our music, I knew what his plans were, and he would count me down and I would count him down when we're going to end. And there would be a seamless transition in terms of how the game was flowing. Also, having those game scripts in advance from them would be really helpful. I got into a habit of being able to count the number of words before, to count off the band into a song, so that way it went right into it. That was always a fun thing for me to do as well while we were on games. But I think that's just really overall the best thing, is to really make sure that we have this constant communication that we are trying to establish and create the best game day environment, which really creates and gives a wonderful home field advantage for us, whether it's football or volleyball or basketball.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, Josh, do you have another question you'd like to present to Dr. Stahl?
Sure. I know we want to keep some of the secrecy going on right now in terms of what our shows are going to be this year. We want to keep the excitement going into football season. But I was hoping you could talk just a little bit about some of the shows you've done in the past at your other stops, and just whether you have any memorable shows or traditions that you're a part of at the other universities that you were affiliated with.
We are going to be sharing with the students tomorrow what the shows are, so I'll keep that a secret one more day from everyone else. But I think the best part about the shows is just the preparation and finding those tunes that really fit together to create a theme for the shows. You know, I have a whole process where I'll do a lot of listening, a lot of seeing what's out there, and trying to create that overall best performance and really keep it fresh, I guess you can say, for the audience. So changing up the halftime shows. At Washington, we did a new show every single week. And this year we plan to do, I believe, 5 different shows this season to keep things fresh and new for the audience. Some will be geared towards music that the student section will be more familiar with. Some will be more familiar to everyone. So I like to keep things, you know, open to all audience members to keep it interesting. In terms of fun halftime shows, I would have to say I did a Halloween halftime show that we performed Thriller. And just a little fun fact about me, I actually used to be a competitive dancer when I was younger in high school. And so I have a tendency to choreograph and come up with a lot of the horn choreography and the dance routines that's the bands do on the field. So I think the most memorable thing is that we did the Thriller dance on the field, and it got a lot of attention on social media, which was really awesome to see. A lot of Instagram follows after that. And I think the other one that really comes to mind is we did the song Shut Up and Dance. Do you know that song? Yes. It's by Walk the Moon. And at the time, Stony Brook was hosting them on campus for an actual live performance for the students. And the band actually got to meet Walk the Moon and perform with them side by side on campus for that performance. So that was really exciting and noteworthy, I guess you can say too. I also don't want to forget my time writing the halftime show for the Rose Bowl. That was an amazing experience. I was very honored to have my halftime show selected while I was at Washington, and that was pretty cool, pretty stressful, but you know, pretty awesome at the same time.
Awesome, very exciting. Looking forward to what you tell us about the shows tomorrow, right? There you go. Janie, any other questions? I know you had a few from yourself and other alumni.
Yes, and this goes with one that looks like it's in the chat as well, and it was going to be one of the next ones I have. What is your vision for the role of the alumni band, and how do you plan to involve the alumni band with the Wildcat marching band?
Great, thank you. So I want to make sure that I have an open communication with especially the executive board of the alumni band, to try to keep the communication open, keep everybody involved and engaged. I know that we're going to try to work towards some sort of connection and communication for the students in terms of having the alumni there for the picnic at the end of early week, maybe some other involvement throughout the week as well. And I hope that we can still continue working together for I guess we call them winter break games here. Is that what we call them? Okay, I want to make sure I call them the right name. The winter break games, and keeping that connection and hopefully being able to support and continue that, but also, try to keep it in connection in terms of, helping update the music library with the alumni band as well. I hope that we can still continue, and I I think this has been great so far. I've been attending alumni band meetings too so far that I've been involved with. And it's been really great to just hear how passionate and energized the alumni band program is. And I'm hoping that I can also provide some assistance in some of my my experience with working with other alumni band programs with fundraising and scholarships. And I guess keeping that connection and keeping that involvement throughout the year is really important to me. I really am excited about this year with Alumni Band Day and being able to have a more, I guess, have a coordinated sort of meet and greet between the students, the current students and the alumni band during the rehearsal, actually allotting some time for that to happen. Because I think it's really important that young alumni really start to join in and participate in the alumni band. So I'm hoping to be able to help that connection and bridge that gap some more as well.
We certainly appreciate that. And I appreciate your words there. And Cody, if you'll allow me here, I just wanted to remind everyone that the Alumni Band Reunion is this year. Will we be marching with the Wildcat Marching Band? I can't believe I'm saying that. We're going to be marching on the field this year, which is going to be wonderful with the Wildcat Marching Band. We didn't get to do that last year, but it's September 17th and 18th. And I'm going to ask Katie to actually put the link up there for registration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, looking over to the chat, and we can come back to the panelists as well, but looking over to the chat, the first question I see, well, Janie and Jimmy and Linda Yiser already presented the similar question. So Amelia Clark is asking, what are the numbers looking like this year for the Wildcat Marching Band?
Can you just repeat that question? I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat at the same time too.
Yeah, the first, Amelia Clark is asking, what are the numbers looking like this year for the band so far?
So we are currently working on them still. As you know, coming out of last season has been a little bit challenging because the students are still kind of on the fence with, you know, how they're going to, if the season's going to look normal or not. But I think we're close to at least 200, I think, at this point. So we're hoping that to grow that year by year and hoping to get to about 250, 300 in the coming years.
Thanks. And we've been working and I've been helping Shayna with sort of a community project in getting the students, tracking them down, recruiting, and it's ongoing. We never stop, but I've been really working with Shayna to help her reach out and connect with all those students. And I think the numbers are going to turn out to be better than we expect. So I can tell you last year during COVID, we were right around 215 or 20. Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was somewhere in that
I'm actually
range.
looking at the, I'm actually looking at the registration forms right now. We're on track to be a little bit larger than last year, and we still have a couple of weeks for numbers to roll in. So we're on track. I'm glad that we're on the positive trend coming out of the pandemic.
Fantastic. So you know, we turned last year from a negative situation to very positive. I think it ended up being a pretty positive year for the band, all things considered. But the numbers we kept up as much as we could. And I think this year, like Josh said, is going to be better. Okay, another question from the chat from Brian Hunt, who we all know very well. He says, is it possible that at least pregame and one or two of this year's halftime shows will end up on a YouTube channel for those of us who don't get to many football games? And perhaps, if the schedule permits, maybe the marching band could participate on the field in one or the other band competitions that happen around the area as a guest band or a guest performing band at a competition somewhere in the area or somewhere in Kentucky during the coming year or the coming years.
Long question. Let me see if I can remember it all. So I'll start backwards. So in terms of being a guest performer on the field, we're actually hosting the state championship this year at the end of October, and the drumline will definitely be participating on the field for that performance. And then our members will be around and helping support during that day as well. In terms of reaching out to other and being a part of other competitions, I hope to do that in the future. This year, with a lot of travel is kind of questionable in terms of what we're doing and what we're not allowed to do. So I think that's why we haven't been persistent in pursuing it this year, but I hope to pursue that in the future as well. On YouTube, I think was the other question part of it, right? YouTube channel. I think we'll definitely try the best to do that again this year. I think last year, I think there's at least 3 videos from last year, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, on YouTube right now in terms of what the band was able to do. So I hope that we can continue that as well.
Hey, Josh, is that right? We had 2 halftime shows plus pregame on YouTube. Is that correct?
That's correct.
There you go. All right. Next question from Ed Neely. The home game on September 11th. Any hints on for that show? I think, Ed, you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. Is that correct, Dr. Stahl?
Yes, I'm gonna let the students know first. I think it'll be a nice surprise for them to know what the shows are for the season first. Sorry.
That's okay. I knew that was coming. The next question is from Christian Kessler. And he says, welcome to UK. In the past, the TAs have written drill and arrangements. Will you continue to do this, or do you have a specific arranger and or drill writer in mind?
Great question, because this has been a lot of what we've been doing this past month. So we're very fortunate to have some really talented TAs with us. And Josh is actually writing a stands tune for us right now, as well as one of his songs that he wrote for last season, I believe it was, is going to be featured in one of the halftime shows. And then as well, Josh will be writing a halftime show, and then Ashley Shoup, who's also a returning graduate assistant, will also be running a halftime show this season. And, you know, for me, I had a wonderful experience as a graduate assistant in terms of being provided those opportunities, which helped support me being able to become a band director here at the University of Kentucky. And I want to be able to do the same for the graduate assistants as well, to make sure that they're prepared and have a good idea of, you know, teaching at the college level and you know, writing drill, organizing the band. So they're going to be really, really involved in the whole process, and whatever halftime show that they are writing, they're going to be in charge of teaching it as well. So, and Josh and I already had this conversation actually the other day. In terms of arrangers, we do also hire out for some arrangers, the local arrangers, and some colleagues of mine. And then in terms of drill, it will probably continue to kind of stay in-house. I write drill a lot, and then I know a lot of the grad assistants have had that, you know, experience as well.
Terrific. And I'm looking at the chat, and I don't see any other questions in the chat right now, but we can continue with our own questions. Janie, do you have any other questions that you have on your list from your fellow alumni?
I have one last one. Dr. Stahl, if you could talk about the preparations that you've made already for the early week, weekly practices, game day schedule, and just kind of walk us through what a week will look like for these Wildcat Marching Band members.
I like to be very organized. Let's just put it that way. I've made lots of lists, and in terms of recruitment, you know, working on all of that, working on syllabus right now, updating the handbook as well for both. I see Cody laughing at me because we were talking about this today. Doing a lot of updates to a lot of materials right now. In terms of the season and so forth, I strive to maybe over communicate sometimes to the students, so they could probably expect a lot of emails from me, but I'd rather the students be in the know than to be questioning things. So for me, I like to send an email the night before every rehearsal to the students outlining what a schedule would look like. Give and take, obviously. I mean, I'd love to stay on target, obviously, but there's got to be some flexibility. But at least there's no question when the students arrive as to what to expect for a rehearsal. In terms of game day, we're still working out schedule-wise for that because, you know, in communication with athletics, how catwalk's going to work and how all the pre-game sort of activities we'll pursue. But like I said, I'd like to over communicate, let the students know as far in advance as possible. My line that I kind of say to the students is, as soon as I know, they'll know. And I try to live by that because I don't want to keep any secrets for them. And I know what it's like to be on the other end with the students in terms of communication and kind of be left waiting. So I always want to make sure that the students know as far in advance as possible.
Yeah, great answer, and thank you for the both question and the answer. And yes, Shayna did hand me actual paper copies, I think I have them right here, of her syllabus and handbook for the marching band, along with a red marker. And she said, please write anything. I mean, she actually, I felt like a teacher was handing something off to me 20 years ago. It's like, here's some papers and here's a red marker too. It's like, okay, she is very organized. So I appreciated that, by the way. So I'm going to do my homework tonight and make sure I get it done. Okay, another question from Nathan Ellis. What does travel look like for this season? Will a full band trip for the U of L game be possible?
So as of right now, I was told to plan for travel for every away game with the potential that we don't know if it's happening yet or not. I know the intention is to, they have allotted funding for a small pep band for all home games. And then for the U of L game, I believe that they have allotted funds for us to take the full band to that game. So again, the final decision has not been said, yes, we're going to everything yet, but they told me to plan as if we are going to be.
Sorry. So generally, the UK marching band will send a one bus pep band to away SEC games wherever they occur, and that's in question. And then the U of L game, I think my opinion is I think the U of L game should be okay because that's a day trip there and back. You don't have to use hotel rooms or whatnot. So fingers crossed for the band to travel this year. We do need that. Speaking of travel, I have a quick question. Do you have any ideas for special trips for the marching band? You mentioned the Macy's Day Parade, things like that, trips like that, events like that. We took the Wind Symphony to Carnegie Hall a couple of years ago. Janie was there for that event. Those special trips are lifetime experiences for the students when they can occur. Do you have any ideas about what the marching band could do someday soon?
Yes, I have a couple of ideas. So with the University of Washington, while I was there, they were able to travel to the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Sorry, I draw a blank what that was called. St. Patrick's Day Parade in Ireland, which was a fantastic experience. And I hope that eventually we could do something like that. And also another opportunity could also be going to Hawaii and playing at the Pearl Harbor Memorial as well. So those are just a couple, as well as the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. There's also a London parade as well. Some require invitation, obviously application and invitation, and some are, you know, things that we can just organize and go ahead and start planning. I think for this year, I think with all the travel that's happening, we're kind of hesitant to move too fast too soon at this point, but I know that there could be a plan in action, and Dr. Birdwell and I have discussed this too.
Thank you. This question comes from Tracy Lovin. Do you have dates, times that you will need help from the alumni during early week?
Yes, I will definitely get that out to the executive board. We are going to be sending a schedule out to the students tomorrow that has kind of a detailed day-to-day of what's going to be happening. We were kind of waiting on a few extra, I guess you could say, performances that were coming up that week to be finalized before we actually sent that out. But the schedule is going to be, I like to call it a living schedule because it's on a Google Drive, and it gives us the opportunity to update like in real time, in terms of, especially if there's a bad weather day, you know, hey, let's change the rehearsal, check the schedule, and people know where to go. So I will definitely get that out to folks. The end of this week is tomorrow, either tomorrow or by the beginning of next week.
Terrific. And I'm looking at the chat, and right now, I don't see any other questions at the moment. Do we have any other follow-up questions possibly from our three panelists?
I do have one more because we've talked a lot about marching band, but I also know that our other athletic bands for volleyball and basketball are very, very important to our students and our alumni. And obviously, anything can change as guidelines come up from the university. But as of now, do we have an idea of what that season will look like for our other pep bands or our other athletic bands?
That's a good question. Again, with athletics, we've been told to proceed as if it's going to be 2019 until we're told otherwise. And I say 2019 because that's when the season looked normal. And we're still planning to organize the pep bands as they were in the past, in terms of having the blue and the white band and the CATS bands and all of that great stuff. We do plan to support volleyball and both basketball teams as well. And then adjustments of according to schedule. You know, there's a couple of volleyball games that actually are on the same day as football games, so we'll have to figure out how to work all of that out with the alumni band as well to make that work. But I think that, you know, I'm very excited to see, you know, the atmosphere as well at RUP, you know, and to be there in person for the first time. And I'm really excited because, you know, I'm hoping to really establish that, like I said, that strong communication with athletics to make those seamless transitions for music and keep it energized and find some tunes that will be really game appropriate and meaningful to what's going on the court as well.
Dr. Stahl, we'll be very happy to help fill in. We look for those opportunities.
Hey, I have a quick question for Josh Gillen. Can you please get a better football helmet for your room that you're in right now? What is?
Okay, I'm in the process of moving, so I haven't pulled out all my UK stuff yet. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. We know you went to Auburn, but man, we got to get you a UK helmet, and we'll find a place for you to hide that Auburn helmet. All right. So I have a quick question for Dr. Stahl. What are your impressions? What are your perceptions about marching bands in the Southeast Conference in the SEC? And how have your communications with directors from the other universities been going so far?
The communication has been fantastic. They've been really welcoming. As soon as you introduced me to the folks in the conference, I've been included on every email since, especially with going into the season, trying to figure out how are bands functioning? Are we ordering masks just in case? Are bands traveling? What are your plans? What are my plans? You know, and being very open and having very honest conversations. Realistically, you know, they have been so supportive. I mean, seriously, they really have been nothing but supportive of me coming in and into this role. In terms of my impressions of their programs, there's a lot of strong programs in our conference for sure, and very large programs in our conference. So I hope that we can all work together with alumni and current students and you know, administration to really bring it up to the size of other programs as well. And I think that's probably my biggest impression of the SEC bands is the size of the bands for sure, the size and the sound. And I hope that we can work together to create that.
Well, I know you and I share that common goal, that we are going to work very hard to make that happen. And I think it will happen sooner rather than later, but it's going to take a lot of teamwork to get there and a lot of support from our alumni and the university to get there as well. But I think we're all committed, and I'm really excited about the energy you bring to the table, to the program, and being here, because I know you have that vision, and I know that you have the awareness and the skills to make that happen. Well, we have room or time for a few more questions from anybody in the chat or from our panel. Please, please go ahead.
Dr. Stahl, what does the student leadership profile look like for this year's band? Did you inherit a full slate of leaders in place? And what does that structure look like? And how has your integration with them gone so far in this 1 month?
Yeah, I was lucky to come in and, the drum majors and the section leaders were all selected. The last step that I'm implementing right now, and the graduate assistants are going to receive an email about this tomorrow, is I'm going to be putting an operational leadership team together that will assist with some social media and uniforms and equipment and attendance as well, to kind of give support for the, graduate assistants, but also to the program in general, while also giving those students the opportunity to learn from those leadership positions. In terms of things that I liked, so leadership camp is actually a little longer than what it has been in the past. This year, we're starting off with a full day with just the drum majors alone, to work on conducting skills and possibly mace skills this year as well. And then we're going to be transitioning to bringing in the full leadership team the next day. I like to work a lot on building their leadership skills in general, in terms of knowing what type of leader they are, and then what type of learner they are as well. Being able to know what type of learning style they have really helps them be good teachers. So being able to help guide them to teaching marching or teaching in a sectional or whatever it may be, I just want to make sure that they feel prepared for whatever may come their way. And also, communication too, teaching them how to communicate wisely. So that's kind of, we have about 3 days with them. We'll be bringing in, this kind of going a little bit further than your question, I'm sorry. But then we'll have drumline, color guard, and majorettes coming in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the full band will be coming in on that Sunday evening, and that'll be the first time we're all together.
Great. So in addition to being the director of athletic bands and the Wildcat Marching Band director, you are also a faculty member in the School of Music at UK. How do you feel about, and what makes you most excited about being a part of that team, working with the other faculty in our wonderful School of Music and in the College of Fine Arts?
I'm really excited about it. When I met the members of the faculty at, I guess it was my lunch for my interview process, I was just really impressed with how many actually showed up and had a vested interest in the person that was being brought into this position, and how open and friendly they were and how supportive they were. It's just been a real pleasure getting to know them. I mean, it's been the summer, so not as many people have been around, but just being able to walk by and see one of them in their office and just be able to have a conversation and to get to know each other a little better. I'm just really excited about it. And, I just hope to be able to continue to communicate with them, and hopefully we'll work really well together.
Right. And Dr. Stahl is also an outstanding conductor and will be on the podium conducting the concert band. That will be her assigned concert ensemble as well, which is something that's very important to any band director, is to have that opportunity to conduct in an indoor setting. And she'll also be on the podium with our other groups as well as time goes on. So we're looking forward to having you collaborate with us in that direction as well. So any other questions from any of our panelists or from our chat? I don't see any other questions in. Oh, here's a question from Jimmy and Linda Yiser. So what are you going to do in all of your spare time?
Well, I always try to create some time for myself, because I think it's good for everyone's mental health to do that. So just a little, I guess, my spare time, I do work out every morning, believe it or not. I do work out every morning for at least 30 minutes to just kind of give myself some time to focus on me. because I do put a lot of time and invested into the students, because that's my first priority, is the students are first. So I do have to kind of take a little bit of me time sometimes, but then I guess if they're, my other spare time, we've been enjoying kind of driving around Lexington right now and getting to know different things, seeing the beautiful horse farms and everything out there. It's just been really wonderful to get to know a new area, and I find it fun and exciting.
Fantastic. And I should, but I don't get up and work out every morning, right? I should, but maybe you'll inspire all of us who are going to be working with you to do those types of things too. So I think we're at the end of our time, and we could go on and on, but we just don't have the time for that. And at this time, there is one more question. Any chance of switching from sousaphones to contras anytime soon? Asking for someone currently marching with one. I have an answer for that, but I'll defer to Dr. Stahl.
Probably not anytime soon, if that's a good answer for that one.
Which is why all the SEC bands march with sousaphones, and the Big 10 and the Big 12 and on and on. But it's also something to talk about. Well, at this time, I think I would turn it back over. I would like for all of us to thank Dr. Stahl for sharing her time with us this evening, and for having such a great conversation. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I, for one, am very fortunate to be able to work with her on a daily basis. And I can tell the rest of you that we're very fortunate and excited to have you on our team at the University of Kentucky. So thank you.
Thank you. And it's such an honor to be here. And I really appreciate everyone that's attending today, because it really truly does show that there's a lot of support for the program. So come out this season, come see what we're doing. And I hope that you enjoy the performances as well.
Oh, let's see, we have a couple more questions. I think we're good. So at this point, would I turn the conversation back over to Katie Schaefer from Alumni? I guess that would be the protocol.
Yeah, we can wrap up from here. If Shayna, if you wanted any closing comments, feel free. I don't know if you wanted to say anything extra on top of everything you've already said.
No, I think it's just to reiterate that I'm just very thankful for all the support so far and just the warm welcomes. I really look forward to continuing to build a very strong foundation for the future of the program. And I hope that everyone will stay engaged and continue to support the program as we move forward.
Well, thank you all so much. We're so happy to have you, Shayna. And we'll wrap up from here. Thank you all. Have a good night.